Who is one actor that was perfectly cast, and for what role? Hugh Laurie as Gregory House. Peter Dinklage as a Tyrion Lannister. Tony Shalhoub as Mr. Monk. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson is so iconic that not hearing his voice in the animated Spider-Man series throws me off. Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. Gandalf. If anyone besides Ian McKellen played him, the entire series would not be the same. Christoph Waltz as Hans Landa. Christina Ricci as Wednesday Addams in The Addams Family. Richard Moll as Bull in Night Court. Michael Clarke Duncan as John Coffey. Schwarzenegger equals Terminator. John Hamm as Don Draper. Anthony Starr as Homelander in The Boys. The way he's able to pull off the role of a deeply troubled, deranged psychopath, especially the frankly terrifying little tells like facial tics, is amazing. Rainn Wilson as Dwight. Bryan Cranston of Breaking Bad played Walter White. That was a performance of a lifetime. Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn. Perfect casting. Played the role perfectly. There's nothing about him in any of the 3 movies that I could criticize. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. Robin Williams as Professor John Keating in Dead Poets Society *. Andre the Giant in The Princess Bride. There is literally no one else on earth who could have played that role. Still the single greatest performance ever given by a professional athlete in a film. Ever. Tom Hanks. Forrest Gump. He was absolutely incredible. No other actor could have nailed the role the way he did. In my opinion, I genuinely felt like I knew him, and felt protective of him in a way. Forrest was just too pure. I loved him. I've never felt so strongly in a movie that the actor connected with the character so much. It was magic to watch. Richard Ayoade as Morris Moss in The IT Crowd. Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly. Charles Dance as Tywin Lannister. Even the latter half of the show can't detract from his performance on my personal #1 spot of TV. Villains. Lee Emery in Full Metal Jacket. It's an interesting story about how he basically stole the role from the original actor. Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito in Goodfellas. Sigourney Weaver, Alien. Alan Rickman for Professor Snape. Also, Alan Rickman for Hans Gruber in Die Hard. The volleyball as Wilson in Castaway. Hard to imagine someone else than Bryan Cranston playing Walter White or Bob Odenkirk playing Jimmy McGill. Saul Goodman. James Gandolfini in The Sopranos. Beetlejuice. Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki as Sam and Dean Winchester. I've said this ad nauseum, but Brendan in The Mummy is just perfect casting in it of its glory. Great work of the writers too for taking advantage of Brendan charisma. Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada. I wouldn't have thought of her based on the character and instead would have thought of Nicole Kidman. Or someone more fashion. But she embodied the role in a way no one else could. She even got nominated for an Oscar. Robert Shaw as Sam Quintin, Jaws. David Tennant as Doctor Who. Will always be my favorite. Cillian Murphy as Thomas Shelby in Peaky Blinders. John Heder as Napoleon Dynamite. Aaron Paul as Jesse Pinkman. James Earl Jones as Darth Vader's voice. Not to discredit the numerous actors in the suit over the years. But his voice, tone, and delivery is what made Darth Vader's character have that presence. And James is who most people will remember as Darth Vader. John Malkovich, being John Malkovich. Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins and Sean Astin as Sam Gamgee are some of my favorite castings. But I think quite a few of the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings actors were well cast. Christian Bale, American Psycho. Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption. Ray Liotta in Goodfellas. Tom Hanks Forrest Gump. Mickey Rourke as Marv in Sin City. James Spader as Raymond Reddington. I have watched 8 seasons of a very average criminal show exclusively for his performance. Raul Julia as Gomez and Lord Bison. Really any of the cast of Addams Family. One of the only movies I will sit down and watch more than once. Tony Stark as Robert Downey Jr. The man was born for the role. Edit. The most awesome thing is that you could exchange Tony Stark for Robert Downey Jr. and no one would even notice. Heath Ledger as the Joker. Bob Hoskins as Eddie Valiant in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka. Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man. Steve Carell as Michael Scott. John Candy as Uncle Buck. Johnny Depp, Captain Jack Sparrow. Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Michael Keaton in the 1989 Batman. He was just the right blend of humorous and serious that it lent a credibility to comic movies that just didn't exist at the time. If you were alive at the time that Batman was a cultural phenomenon. I was 7 and I still remember it vividly. The whole country was nuts for it and ready for more movies and shows based on comics. He and that movie paved the way for what we have today. For better or worse.